The people who are attracted to Rolex are just like, I know what Rolex is. I want to watch. Boom, let's go get a Rolex, and they don't do the back end.
A lot of them are. I own Rolex, so I'm not demeaning anybody when I say this, but a lot of them are brand whores.
Yeah, exactly.
It legitimately, Rolex has become a brand, just like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. And most people are not buying a Louis Vuitton because they are interested in the history of Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
They are interested in the quality of the leather that they use. They are interested that it was hand stitched.
Yeah.
That is not the reason most people are buying Louis. They're buying it because it is a brand that they can throw on their arm and people recognize it and they feel special.
Imagine being able to upgrade like a watch that you love. Like, oh, here your 3-year contract is up. Here's your upgrade.
They just send it in.
Yeah,
and they
send
just
it in,
upgrade the internal, send it back to you.
And you're like, oh, I kind of like this watch. I had a lot of good memories. I'm not ready for this. You know, you keep it, obviously. With the phone, you're not thinking about that. You're like, I'm ready to get the new one. I'm tired of this one. The battery's dead. So
yeah, give me the newest and best.
Exactly. So watches are just completely different when you have a nice traditional piece on your wrist versus a smartwatch.
Welcome to the channel, The Watch Bros. I'm here today with Felix. So Felix normally doesn't join us, but
First time.
But he is today.
Yeah.
Michael is on vacation, he's traveling. So Felix is here with us. And I think it would be good to touch on, we just released a Rolex video.
Big video.
Yeah. And it's done way better than I think we even anticipated.
Oh, no, we knew.
Yeah.
It was a banger.
We knew that it could be a banger, to be honest. But in my mind, if it had gotten 2,000 views, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
We're a brand new channel, obviously. We've only got a few videos up and some shorts. So I just figured, gosh, if we got 2,000 views, that would be amazing. And as we sit here right now, I think that we're approaching 20,000 views on that video. It's been up for about a day and a half. We started yesterday morning with 33 followers. And now we are at 664 followers.
What a big change.
And counting. That's a pretty big change in 24 hours. So I'm excited to be here, talk through the Rolex video. And then also Felix, he's new to the watch game.
I am.
But he has kind of gotten addicted quickly.
Yeah, very quick, unfortunately. I
believe you've got 4 watches now in under a month. 2 weeks?
Correct.
Something like that, right?
It's a nice collection to start off with.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on Rolex, and then I think we'll get into what it's like as a new collector to give some insight and remind some of the people that are watching that have been in the hobby for a long time, remind them what it felt like when they first got in.
Yeah.
And then also speak to the guys and gals that are now getting into watches, and maybe we can flesh out a couple of do's and don'ts for getting in and just talk about that for them. Let's do a wrist check.
Okay. I'll start with me because
you start.
There's some controversy around yours.
Yeah.
And mine's a little bit more simpler. I have a beautiful Seiko 5 that's been modified to be an homage to the 50 Fathoms.
Yes. Black Pond.
By Bon Pont.
Yeah, there you go.
I got it all the money. So this is a beautiful watch gifted by a good friend of mine, who will be unnamed because he doesn't deserve any.
I think he's a humble human and he would prefer to stay unnamed.
In that case, by Jason, a friend of mine named Jason, and it's a beautiful watch. It really is. You gave it to me with this green band.
I did.
I was like, dude, this is hideous. It's ugly. I want to change it immediately.
What are the conditions?
The conditions is I have to wear it for a month, and I have to wear it at least one time a week.
At least once a week.
Yeah.
But this is maybe the 3rd time in this week I've seen you wear it.
Yeah, so I have slowly come to enjoy the green. As you can tell, I've kind of made my own fit around the watch, which a lot of people tend to do. And it's a beautiful watch. The watch itself is super, super pretty. It's super classy looking. And it's black with kind of has a vintage feel for it, and it's a good homage piece.
I think I've had that watch maybe 10 years.
Yeah, 10 plus years now.
So early in the watch collecting, that was a piece that I picked up. At that time, a 50 Fathoms was not accessible to me.
Yeah.
But I really thought that it was a gorgeous watch. And I ran across this. This was custom built by somebody else on Watch You Seek. And Watch You Seek is a great platform. If you don't know about it, go check it out.
Yeah.
And I found that in the buy sell and came to a very reasonable deal on that modded Seiko, picked it up, and I wore it for a long time.
Yeah. It's a beautiful watch, beautiful piece, and I could see why
This is a 55 fathoms, by the way. It's a play on the Seiko 5. It was named a 55 fathoms.
Super cute. Whoever thought of that. Good job.
It's a common mod with Seiko.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are called 55 fathoms. I think maybe I'm wrong, but my gut tells me if that band had fit you comfortably, you may keep that in rotation
forever.
Yeah. I think you've grown to love the green, but obviously it's a little small for your wrist.
Yeah.
So you're really out of necessity going to have to change.
Correct. I'm itching to change it because of the tightness of it. And it's an ugly ass color.
Yeah. So I'm wearing a Rolex black sub, and I thought it was fitting to put this on today because we released the Rolex video, and the Rolex video really goes into my frustrations around the brand.
Yeah.
But those are frustrations. It doesn't mean that I hate the brand by any means. There's plenty of Rolex pieces that I love and adore.
I own
Rolex.
Yeah.
In that video, in fact, there's an overhead cam shot that shows my current Rolex Tudor collection. It has gotten smaller. It has shrunk down. I've traded out some of those pieces to get into some other watches, but there are plenty of Rolex watches that I do like. And I especially love vintage Rolex. I've really started to move over to looking at a lot of vintage pieces lately. But yeah, the video is not me hating Rolex itself. It's my frustration. And then the video really is about the perception that a lot of people have around the brand. And I wanted to clear up a little reality that I feel like people just ignore, to be honest.
Brand appeal. That's the biggest thing. I saw a lot of comments too, liking it to Apple in the brand appeal way. But I will, even to give Apple credit, they make a lot of proprietary items that are very technologically advanced. And Rolex has done a similar fashion with the history of Rolex. But I wouldn't compare Rolex to Apple in that regard. Yeah, they're the two most known in their fields. Rolex isn't necessarily the top dog when it comes to high end. Apple is known to be that. So that's why I kind of I saw all those comments. I'm like, that doesn't really make sense.
Rolex has traditionally been innovative.
Yeah.
Especially if you go back and when they were first founded.
Over time,
they have been innovative.
Yeah.
I think that modern Rolex is not nearly as innovative as they have been.
Yeah.
They're not nearly as aggressive as they have been about trying new concepts.
Toned it down a little bit.
They've toned it down. Yeah. They're really laying in or leaning in on their history at this point.
Yeah.
And they are not going to make any big changes.
They pulled a Louis Vuitton towards their trail end of the years.
Yeah. We should have maybe popped these open already because I am thirsty.
I know. I've been waiting.
I'm thirsty.
Hoping you said it before I did.
Right. So we got the champagne of beers. Miller High Life here.
Breaking a lot of firsts with you. This is my first Miller Lite. So.
Okay. Well, this is a Miller High Life, not Miller Lite. There's a difference.
Apologies for all your beer enthusiasts. This is good. Wow.
Delicious.
That was not what I would expect it to taste like.
I'm not a big Miller High Life drinker, but I do enjoy this beer a lot.
Smoother than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's very good. What was it like editing for that video that we knew we were going to post?
In the video we're talking about, by the way, is that this is going to be the conversation piece, is the Rolex video.
Yeah.
I think going into it, we both had a pretty good idea that we wanted it to feel dramatic. We wanted it to be engaging, but also the perception was we're pretty serious about what we're talking about, And I think going into it at first, we almost had a sillier vibe, especially with the first run of edits.
Yeah.
I was unsure what the direction wanted to be, but after filming and setting up the actual film setup and then really running through some of the ideas, I think the serious tone really helped push forward what we were talking about. During the editing, we changed it a lot, I just decided to add a little bit more the cinematic feel music where it's a little bit undertone over your voice. Still make it engaging through the transition and animation effects, but also like tell a story. Like you were telling a lot of history, which were supporting facts to your opinions, I would say. And because a lot of it is opinionated, but we're supporting it with the facts. I think we ended up with a really, really good final video, aside from some little touches.
A couple of things that we know are errors.
We won't tell you because we don't want you to look for them. But I think it was a good video. We like exactly what you said. Like we maybe expected it to go a little viral, but not like where it is right now. It's doing really good, and we're happy with it for being the third and really the first real video on the channel.
Yeah,
it popped like crazy.
It did.
So
numbers
big.
We are all excited about that.
Yeah,
and we won't talk about this video too much. And the reason is because I think we plan on doing a follow-up video.
There will be one. And
I really want to use that as a way to air out some of the things that I talked about.
Yeah.
And then respond to some reoccurring comments. Mm-hmm. There's tons and tons of comments on there. I can't even keep up with them anymore. I did try to hammer out as many responses as I could yesterday and then early this morning. But there's no way for me to keep up with all those comments.
Just kept flooding.
But there are a lot of reoccurring kind of overarching issues that people either took or some things they agree with me on. And I want that video to go more in depth on what my thinking was and how I feel about Rolex and certain pieces.
And I would love to kind of dig in your mind a little bit, because the way we worked on this project was we both knew the idea. You kind of scripted out your thoughts and your opinions and formulated it. And then we had this vision that we kind of ran with. I would love to kind of let people know as well, so that they don't think you're the worst, how dare you wear a Rolex at the same time you're harking on them, Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about why it is what you said. So what was the formulation, the thought process on why even start this video of almost roasting Rolex?
Yeah, a few things. The AD experience is one that is very bothersome to me. If you go to a Patek AD or you go to an AP AD or any high-end Alonga, you go there, they are very welcoming. Now, can you get all of the pieces that you want? Specifically AP and Patek? No, you're not going to be able to get those pieces. They're not any different in that regard than Rolex is, but they are legitimate lists. So if you go in and you get put on a list, it's a real list.
Yeah.
They also are very transparent about what's required of the client. So if you go into Patek and there's a model that you want, mainly they're sports models, you can't just buy that. With Patek, the most known structure is that you have to get 3 pieces. So you need to get 3 of their more available pieces, because they want you to buy into the brand, and they save those other pieces for their top and special clients. Some people have a big issue with that. I don't. And the reason is because those are their highest sought after pieces. And of course, they're going to keep those pieces for their best customer.
Right.
And they're also transparent about it. They're not making it seem one way and then it is a different experience when you go there. With Rolex, people feel like these pieces should be accessible. You go talk to your AD, and your AD will a lot of times lead you down a trail where you think it's actually possible for you to get this watch.
Yeah.
And the reality is that you're never going to get that watch.
Yep.
And that is a big issue that I have with them. Also, my AD here where I live is amazing. We have a great relationship with that AD. And I've got a great relationship with some of the salespeople up there. So that's not my issue with my AD.
Yeah.
My issue is if I'm traveling and I go to an AD, that experience is terrible.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm from out of town. I don't even let them know that I'm from out of town. I'm just going in to simply talk about watches and talk about Rolex.
Yeah.
And you get interrogated. And it's just a terrible feeling.
It's almost demeaning.
It's very demeaning. So that was one of the reasons that the video was made. I go through all of the different points in the video. But then also I take issue. It's almost like a college sports team. There are people that run around and they don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They just know that the college sports team that they follow is winning.
Yeah.
And they act like they're super fans, and they act like that team is the best team that's ever played. Existed. And when you dig into it, you realize they don't know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They are just on a bandwagon. And in some ways, I feel that around Rolex. Yeah. There are so many people that have a Rolex watch because they know that so-and-so has a Rolex watch and that's a successful human, which is fine. But it's the way that a lot of these people, when they get the watch, how they act. Yeah. And it's something that I really don't like in the hobby. Mm. It's okay if you don't know about watches. It's completely fine if you've always wanted a Rolex, you're not into watches. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the attitude and the personality that seems to be attracted to Rolex that I have an issue with. So I'll be able to get into more of the weeds whenever I release my follow-up video. But I would say that those are the two big things that really drove me to create this video.
So it seems like the two things were the Rolex ADs and the relationship problem, the customer service problem, which you talked about in the video, and then the people who have an affinity with a Rolex. Mm. It's almost like they already have a preconceived notion or a judgment about their character whenever they're attracted to a Rolex. Because if you're going to do a deep dive, I feel like you would eventually know that, hey, maybe a Rolex isn't the right pick for me right now. Maybe I want to go with a different brand that's more, sought after or more fitting and a bigger bang for your buck value-wise. But I think the people who are attracted to Rolex are just like, I know what Rolex is. I want to watch. Boom, let's go get a Rolex. And they don't do the back end.
A lot of them are. And I'm not trying to demean anybody. Yeah. I own Rolex, so I'm not demeaning anybody when I say this, but a lot of them are brand whores.
Yeah, exactly.
It legitimately, Rolex has become a brand, just like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. And most people are not buying a Louis Vuitton because they are interested in the history of Louis Vuitton. Yeah. They are interested in the quality of the leather that they use. They are interested that it was hand stitched. Yeah. That is not the reason most people are buying Louis. Right. They're buying it because it is a brand that they can throw on their arm and people recognize it and they feel special.
Yeah. Oh, you spent high money for that bag.
Yeah. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that that's a bad thing. There's plenty of things in brands that I like because of the brand, but I also try to educate myself in any luxury good. And I usually try to attach a reason for acquiring it outside of it just being a brand.
And that goes a lot to character, I feel like. And knowing Jason a little bit here, and the more that you guys get to know Jason over time, even the car you drive is a good testament of exactly what you said, because you drive a Porsche and you, for the same price point, there's a lot of other varieties of luxury and motorsports cars and performance cars that you could have bought.
I could have bought a Ferrari.
But there was
I could have bought a McLaren. I could have bought a Lambo. Some maybe a little bit more. Yeah. But when you're at the price point that my 911 Turbo S is, that is the pinnacle for Porsche. Yeah. Outside of their special releases. I could have gone and bought, but I am a lover of Porsche and its heritage and its history. Yeah. And a Ferrari or a McLaren would have been much flashier. Exactly. It would have garnered a lot more attention. Yeah. And I intentionally really didn't want that attention. I wanted people that saw the car.
Car enthusiasts.
They're car enthusiasts. Mm-hmm. They also like or love Porsche. And those are the types of people I want to attract around me. Yeah. Not the random person that's like, oh my God, that's a Ferrari. They have no concept of anything about cars. They just know that that's a flashy vehicle. I didn't want to attract that type of human.
It's the same with your watches. When you wear an AP or Patek, you don't necessarily get the people who just know general idea about watches. You get to have a conversation with someone that comes up to you and is like, yo, that's a sick AP. Like, let's talk about why you got it and why you picked what you picked.
The people that know. Yeah. And those are the people that I generally want to have conversations with. I may strike up a conversation with somebody, and that's different. I may strike up a conversation with somebody like you. You may not know anything about AP, but I'm commenting on how much I like your watch. Yeah. And then you may respond, oh, well, what are you wearing? And I show them my AP, and they're like, oh, well, what is that? that's completely fine. Then I can go into a little bit about like
start talking
what the watch is, and we can have some good conversation. That's different than somebody coming up to me that knows nothing about watches.
Yeah.
And because I have a Rolex on, they want to comment just on my Rolex. So I think before we dive any more into the Rolex video and my thoughts around it, I'd like to save probably the rest of it for the follow-up.
The next video, yeah.
And so what I am really excited about is Felix is a full-blown watch collector now. So Felix is my business partner. We started talking earlier in the year and we formed a production company. Then from that production company, we started to build out channels.
Yeah.
And you knew that from the beginning that a watch channel was something that I was very interested in. Mm-hmm. At that time, you were not interested in watches at all.
Zero.
They were not on your radar. You didn't wear a watch.
Yeah. I told you, I was like, dude, like the watches is not me. I'll learn with you, but like, I'm not doing it. Don't get me involved. Don't touch my wrist.
Yeah.
Get away.
Yeah. You had nothing on your wrist, not even a bracelet or anything.
Literally
right?
Nothing. I have no jewelry.
Yeah.
No jewelry at all.
So when was the first time that you were like, started thinking about a watch or was like, man, maybe I could wear a watch? Like how did that happen?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Though I remember specifically, I had this wrestling thought in my head. I don't necessarily love the idea of jewelry, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the perceived notion tends to be I am a type of person because I wear something, right? And I love fashion. I love clothes. I love, sneakers. And so I wanted anything that I wear to portray more of who I am, right? And like I said in the video that we're going to release soon, is the first watch that I was actually going to buy was that Project watches, just because I thought it was super funky and creative. That was almost my first watch. Mm-hmm. And that's just the type of person that I am. I like to pick something that means something to me and not just, like if I were to go buy a Rolex because I can. And so not to throw that back in there, but I just wanted to throw some shade. So the reason that I ended up landing on the jewelry that I want to wear as a watch, because for me, it comes off more sophisticated. It comes off as a nice piece of jewelry, right? Yeah. But that has history. It has some type of art to it. A chain or like rings and other types of bracelets, yes, they are artistic in nature.
But in a different way.
In a complete different way. It comes off way flashier than a watch. A watch you can match with your outfit. It's a little bit more understated. If you notice a watch, and you see it's a good watch, then you know that person has some type of interest, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. If I were to just throw a chain over, like whatever, a Cuban link, that guy has a Cuban link, congrats. Like, what is that, gold? Great, move on. It's not as cool, in my opinion, as finding a good piece of time to throw on your wrist with history and just the intricacies that you can get into with a watch. It's just way more in line with what I love.
It's a lot more expressive.
Yeah.
I found.
Yeah.
It's a great way to express your personality. And then you can also kind of express how you feel that day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or for an event. You can express yourself with watches. That's what I like. And it is a piece of art because there's so many different kinds of watches with different complications and different styles. And so for me, it's a really fun hobby.
Yeah.
And I think the connection to time is what draws me into watches. It makes me think about time, and it's not time and it's functional. It keeps me on task, but also kind of the larger picture of time. And for whatever reason, it makes me contemplate things. I honestly feel this way in certain times of my life where when I'm messing with my watch, then I stop and I have these other thoughts. So, I think that is a really cool connection to time, is by wearing a timepiece that resonates with you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like almost like a double entendre. It's not just a time function, but be time, of a watch. And so that's the reason I landed on it. And I was kind of wrestling with what should be my first watch, because I really wanted, and this is, I know, kind of like the cardinal sin, and I didn't do it for this reason, was I wanted a smartwatch, mostly for my fitness stuff, right? I need to keep track of stuff. So a smartwatch is great to get, but I would say if you're into watches, that shouldn't be the only watch that you have, obviously. No one is going to know that you're into watches by wearing a smartwatch. So be like, cool, you got the Apple Watch Ultra 2, congratulations. And I didn't want that to be my first piece that I would end up getting. So I was like, let me get an actual watch.
I have a dirty little secret.
Oh boy.
When you mention smartwatches.
Yeah.
About 5 years ago, I bought an Apple Watch. I bought the Apple Watch for an intended use, and it was for working out and running.
Yeah, fitness.
I had Garmin's already.
Yeah.
From working out. But I was like, oh man, I moved from the Android Google platform over to iPhone.
Yeah.
And when I made the switch to iPhone, then I got the AirPods and I got a MacBook. I mean, I went full in Apple, which was a great decision. And I was like, man, I could get an Apple Watch, and instead of using my Garmin, I can use my Apple Watch for running and for tracking fitness.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting this Apple Watch, and somehow I started wearing it all the time. I think just out of convenience. And I was getting my messages and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm super productive in a way that I wasn't before. And I actually stopped wearing my mechanical timepieces for 6 months.
You are canceled right now, by the way.
I'm getting canceled probably for 6 months. It was one of the best experiences that I had because it reminded me how void my life was without mechanical watches in a really weird way. Doing that made my connection with mechanical watches so much stronger. So I wore that. And then I was just thinking, I was like, man, I am wearing this all the time. I really need to pull out my other watches. And I was having the thought, but I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And then finally, months after wearing that watch, my wrist was buzzing every 3 minutes. And I was getting a notification that I needed to stand up and move around. And I was like, this is fucking terrible.
You had a headache.
And I remember I ripped the watch off, and then I just went right back to wearing my mechanical pieces. Now, I would wear my mechanical pieces maybe if I was going to an event or something. So it's not like I wouldn't dry for 6 months completely.
Correct, yeah.
But a daily wear, I was wearing that Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say it. But the truth is what it is. And because of that, made my bond stronger with mechanical watches. I will never not be involved in this hobby. And I know it so strongly now.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys know me for my channel, which I'm assuming no one is here for my channel right now yet, then you know I'm a big tech guy. I love technology. I love what's new in the industry. I love innovation. And a lot of people always ask me, why don't you have a smartwatch? I've never bought a smartwatch. The most smartwatch I ever had was like a Fitbit in high school to track my running. And that was the most advanced that I got. I've almost bought the Ultra 2, but I decided to wait. I was like, I wanted to buy a watch. You know, I wanted that to be me, not just the convenience and fun of having a smartwatch on my wrist. And it's exactly what you said. I was worried about that. And I'm glad that you kind of cleared it up here, because it's like the way I thought about it, I was like, do I really literally want to have my phone on me 24/7 on my wrist, even when I want to disconnect? You know, and the answer was no. I don't want to see my messages when I'm not ready to see my messages.
It is horrible. I'm going to tell you.
It takes control.
It takes control.
Yeah.
And it does. It's the other thing is there's no life to it. There's no life to the smartwatch. And listen, smartwatches are fine. They serve a purpose.
Yeah.
But when it becomes your everyday watch, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I need some life on my wrist. I need some life with me. I need something that I can attach memories to in a weird way. Like I'm very much a person. In fact, my wife would tell me that I'm a hoarder. I'm not terrible, but there are things that I just can't get rid of because I have these memories with them.
Yeah.
And so now I'm able to kind of move that over into my watches. And I have amazing memories with so many watches. And when I pick those watches up or when I look down at them throughout the day, it reminds me of those things. Wearing a smartwatch does not.
And that's a good point too, because I don't think people think about it like that a lot nowadays when it comes to tech. Because when tech was being developed, especially phones, you tied a memory to the phone that you had, like your first phone, the phone that had the swipe up, the first phone that had the touchscreen. I still remember all those when I was young, and partially because I'm a tech guy, but also just because those are big instances of my life. I remember the first time I used a phone with a camera on it. You know, that was like BlackBerry, was terrible. Mind
blown. Yeah.
Crazy. But now technology has become so far advanced that those things don't necessarily matter. They're not as memorable. I had an iPhone 12 Pro, and the there's no attachment to it at all. I have an iPhone 15 now, but it's like
it's almost the same thing.
Exactly.
The dimensions are slightly different.
Yeah.
It's a little snappier, but it functions in the same way.
It's not memorable by any means. It's great. You get to choose from 5 different colors. So what does that mean to you, you know? And a watch for me has become that. It becomes super memorable. There's history, not just because of the watch, but because of the time that I'm making with it. And a smartwatch is exactly the same thing. It's like, I can't tie anything to this watch. As soon as the 2 generations up come out, I'm going to buy the new one.
You're going to buy the new one. And then you disregard what you've had.
Exactly.
So if in some way you had attached a memory to it, it would be gone. You wouldn't wear it anymore.
Imagine being able to upgrade like a watch that you love. Like, oh, here, your 3-year contract is up. Here's your upgrade.
They just send it in.
Yeah,
and they just upgrade the internal, send it back to you. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I kind of like this watch. I had a lot of good memories. I'm not ready for this. You know, you keep it, obviously. With the phone, you're not thinking about that. You're like, I'm ready to get the new one. I'm tired of this one. The battery's dead. So
yeah, give me the newest and best.
Exactly. So watches are just completely different when you have a nice traditional piece on your wrist versus a smartwatch. Like you said, there's a moment in time and place to have a smartwatch. You know, buy one if you need one for different reasons, like we've stated, but it's not the reason why you should buy a watch. If you're going to tell time on a watch, buy a traditional watch. It's not hard to read this. I had to relearn analog reading, but you know, you get used to it after a while.
You pick it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think watching you get into this hobby has been really fun for me, because it's reminded me of what it was like when I started collecting and the excitement that you have. And when your reference is smaller, which yours is because you're just getting into the hobby, you get so excited about all of these new watches that you see. Yeah. So Felix probably asks me on a regular basis, look at this watch. What do you think about this watch? And the excitement around it. And I get excited. I feed off of that. Yeah. And so it's been a lot of fun to see you get into the hobby and get fired up about, you know, all these other pieces that you're finding and exploring and learning about. So I've enjoyed it.
It is cool too, being with, you know, you and Mike both, like seeing the decisions that you're making now this far into your watch collection, knowing that one day I'm going to be able to make the same decisions, but on a different level whenever new watches are coming out. And that gets me excited for my future. And also you guys get to see the watches that are more in line with my level and like, oh, this is a cool watch. You should have gotten that one. I mean, me and Mike the other day when he was here, we were geeking out over this new Casio that came out, and we both saw it and I was like, that's a beautiful watch. Like he was like, oh, I'm gonna buy it right now. And it's super pretty. It looks like the Oakley's shades almost, but it's a super nice watch. Very beachy vibe, but like casual.
Yeah, very summer beachy vibe. Yeah.
Super beautiful.
That also goes to that there's a price level for everybody.
Yeah.
And just because a watch is under $500 doesn't mean that it's not a cool timepiece. It doesn't mean that it's not beautiful or handsome. There's a level, and even for somebody that can afford a very expensive watch, if you're a lover of watches and if you're a collector, you can appreciate all of those other pieces. I still have pieces in my collection that are not that expensive. Yeah. And I still love them. I don't wear them as much as I could because you have to figure out, and you'll learn this once you start acquiring more and more pieces. Now it's like, well, what's going to get wrist time today? And that becomes very difficult because you want to wear all of them. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you want to, but it's impossible.
Yeah. You wish you could.
You wish you could. I mean,
pull up with 8 bands of watches.
I think Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, I think he wears 2 watches now, and he changes them out at least once a day, but maybe twice a day. I watched something recently. I think it's twice a day now. So he wears 2 watches. He wears one in the morning, and then at lunch he switches out those 2 watches for 2 more. And then in the evening he switches them out for 2 more.
My man is committed. That's great. Is that seen as wrong to wear 2 watches on your wrist? Because I've seen it every now and then, but it's very rare.
I mean, most humans don't do that.
Yeah.
But his collection is so
massive,
big, and he has some amazing pieces. Yeah. And he just wants to spend time with those watches.
He wants
so
to
I can't knock that at all.
Yeah.
Is it a little weird? I guess so.
Maybe.
But I understand it for him because he has so many beautiful pieces. Yeah. And you want to wear them. Yeah. And that's the only way that he's going to get to wear them is if he does that routine every day.
It's like when really like big collective sneakerheads will wear two different types of pairs of shoes that they look good together, but like why are you wearing two different sets of shoes, you know?
So that is in the sneaker world. That's a thing where some people will wear a left shoe that's different than the right shoe.
Right. It's as rare as you've seen someone with two watches on their wrist.
But it happens.
Yeah, especially if it goes really well together. You can pair it with whatever you're wearing for that day.
That's interesting.
Big. Yeah. I wouldn't do it, but
yeah, I wouldn't do it either.
My collection is not
But I
big.
get it. You know, I mean, if that's what you're into,
Yeah,
and you have too many to be able to wear all of them, then I guess you do that.
Make it work. Make it work where you can.
I'm excited for where you're going to go. I know you've already started trying to look at some other pieces. What do you have on your radar right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not immediately off the top of the head. The only thing that I can think of is a Hamilton.
Yeah.
Just as a good feel casual watch to have. I do know color wise that I want to either get into a tan or a white dial, just because I like that classic look that it gives off. And that doesn't mean it's vintage, but it feels vintage because it's just classic traditional. And if not, the only other color dial I want to get into is a green dial, just because of situations where I'm wearing green. You know, I don't want to wear this ugly ass green band that I'm going to put a green dial on my watch. That's a silhouette.
That is what's nice is you can change out your bands and it feels like you almost have a different watch.
Yeah, you're adding something extra. It's like extra accent.
Yeah, and it's not expensive.
Yeah.
You can get a band. I mean, it depends on what kind of band and from where you get it from, but you can get a band from $20 to $200 and change your look completely.
And that's a good point. Actually, if anything in the watch world, the next thing I'm going to buy is probably going to be another band to replace this ugly ass green band. No, I love this. It's cool.
Dude, bro is hating all over. That's a custom band, by the way.
Well, I have to hate on it a little bit because of how tight it is, man. Because if I don't hate on it, I'm gonna fall in love with it and be like, I'm just gonna have to live with it for the rest of my life.
I have a 7.25 inch wrist. So that was made specifically for my wrist. So it makes sense. Your wrist is a little meatier than mine. It makes sense that it's not going to fit that well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, well, it's a beautiful, beautiful band. And one day maybe I'll sport it more often. But as soon as my 1 month lease is over, I'm taking this thing off immediately.
I'm so glad that was the stipulation for me to go to that watch.
You got so excited. You're like, yeah, you're going to keep this on for a whole month. Like, oh, damn.
For you, I imagine a few different watch brands to look at.
Yeah.
Come to mind right now, and I know I'll develop a larger list, but Hamilton is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Zen is definitely one of them. IFL is definitely one of them.
That other brand that you typically wear that I see every now and then is Ming. Right?
Ming,
that's another good brand.
Yeah, Ming would be a great one to look at. The problem with Ming is they make very limited runs.
Yeah.
And they're hard to get at
into.
retail.
Yeah.
So you can get them, but they'll be on the secondary, and they generally go for a little bit more on the secondary. I mean, it just depends on which model you're looking at. But Ming would also be an amazing brand. It's a brand that I think is made for creators.
Yeah.
And you being a creator, that would be really a perfect marriage for you.
Yeah, I think I like the story behind Ming and the conception of a photographer falling in love with watches, shooting it, and then be like, oh, I want to make a watch.
Yeah, I can design something.
Yeah.
And he designed a beautiful watch.
Sure.
They're so unique. You know, how he develops those is really cool.
Yeah, super, super cool designs.
Yeah. What do you think about this champagne and beers?
Champagne and beers, I'm going to rate it a 8.5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Out of 10.
I think that's fair.
As far as beers go, especially light beers, I know this isn't a light beer, but it tastes similar to a light beer. I like a Michelob. I'm a big drinker whenever it comes to just a casual beer to drink with a friend or social hangout. And I would drink this maybe second to that.
Yeah,
I'd rate it very highly.
Dude, we might have a new Miller High Life fan.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of beers out there that I still need to try, and I'm only 24, so my catalog is only this big.
Yeah.
I'm not a daily drinker or alcoholic by any means. You have to censor that out.
Yeah, we're not an alcoholic, although it is the middle of the day.
It is.
And we're drinking
during work hours.
During our talking head video.
Damn, I guess we are. Labeled. Yeah. If I told my wife.
It's not a good look for you, bro.
Hey, we drink during work, by the way. My apologies. But yeah, this is a great beer. I enjoy it. And it looks cool. I'm a big aesthetic guy. If you're any type of creative, unfortunately,
the branding on this is great.
The brand, the brand is always going to get
super vintage vibe.
It's the worst when a brand looks so good and it's awful. It's so bad, overpriced. But this is a good design on the can, and it tastes good. So
yeah, it is. It's delicious. So anything else that you want to go through on your watch journey?
I don't think so. I think I'll end on this remark. It's been a fun journey. It's been a lot of learning right now because, like you said earlier, Jason, I went from 0 and I'm running at 110% right now.
Yeah.
My wife is probably going to kill me if I mention another watch to her.
Absolutely.
Because almost every day I'm like, hey, look at this watch. What do you think about this watch? And she's like, I don't care about watches. Buy the one you want as long as you don't break the budget.
There are plenty of viewers out there that can relate to this.
Yeah.
Male or female, their spouse, I'm sure, is they're sick and tired of hearing about watches, and they're probably more sick and tired of them buying watches.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife is, some days she's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Some days she's like, I can't fucking believe you've bought another watch. Like, are you serious? Look at everything that you have. You need another watch. So I have to navigate that in the right way so that I can get the watch that I want without pissing her off.
And I'm interested to hear this. I'll answer it myself as well.
Yeah.
But you have obviously a way more diverse, bigger, higher end collection than I do, right? I only have 4 watches. But what is your dream watch? Like, if you were able to buy a watch right now, is it one that you already have in your collection? Or 2, is it one that you want to get up to?
Yep. People use the term grail watch a lot in the hobby. And a grail watch that's the ultimate piece.
It's like the holy grail.
Whatever you think is your ultimate piece.
Yeah.
The end all be all. The funny thing about grail watches is if you attain that watch,
you're going to want another one.
You want another watch.
Yeah.
Welcome
to the world of collecting.
It never ends there. I acquired a grail piece recently, last year, which was my AP Royal Oak.
Yeah.
I have loved that watch forever. And I acquired it. And it is my favorite piece in my collection. And I have some other really nice watches.
Yeah.
But there is something unique about that piece. I have a hard time putting into words, but the finish work on that is amazing. The movement in it. I have a 15510 OR that has the newest in-house caliber inside of it. That's only been out for a few years.
What's the dial color?
It's black.
Yeah, the black.
It's black and rose gold, and it just makes me feel a certain way. It's got the right mix of ruggedness and elegance and flashiness, but so many people don't know what it is. So it's not necessarily under the radar because it is a rose gold watch, but it strikes up a lot of cool conversations.
Yeah.
And that it's a very special piece to me. And I bought it around a time that some other businesses that I own and operate, there was a milestone that we hit, and it corresponded with me getting that watch. And so it really was a level of success that I had reached for me to be able to acquire that watch. And so I have a lot of emotional value put into this watch.
Yeah.
So that is a watch that I have acquired. A watch now that I would be looking at as another watch that would be as special. I love Patek. I think a high complication perpetual calendar Patek is probably the next really big piece that I would see as something that I would want. And I'm not as well versed in their reference numbers. I do know some of their reference numbers, but there's about 3 or 4 different ones that would probably all scratch the itch for me. So I think that's still maybe a couple of years away.
Yeah.
You've got to be smart about spending that type of money on something. I'm on the list for their weekly calendar. I formed a relationship with an AD. I've got a very good friend of mine that works for a bunch of boutiques. It's like a conglomerate of boutiques in Vegas. And he's the one that made the connection for me with Patek. So I have a connection and a relationship that I've been building with Patek in Vegas. And they are amazing. They're wonderful. They're great to chat with. And so I'm on the list for a weekly calendar. And that's a really cool piece, but it's expensive, but not like crazy.
Yeah.
So I already own another Patek now, but that's probably a brand between AP and Patek that I will spend a lot of consideration in adding more into my collection.
Yeah. Those are, by the way, all solid choices. And to bounce back off of you, unfortunately, you've rubbed off on me because my grill watch is a Royal Oak from AP. I've told you this already. AP has, through just a lot of research, has been the most prominent brand in my regards that I like, that I just enjoy their brand overall. And it's obviously not Rolex. It's not overstated. You don't know until you know. And a Royal Oak is super beautiful. It hits. Every time I see you with yours, I'm like, oh man, that's it. That's the watch. It's just so nice. It's pretty. It's just insane. The artistry behind it.
Yes.
The look, the vibe, the style, you know.
It's so unique, man.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of watches that have tried.
Yeah.
And you could make the argument that Nautilus came after the Royal Oak. Mm-hmm. And I love the Nautilus. The Nautilus is more refined, but it doesn't have that unique look that the Royal Oak has.
Yeah.
Now, Royal Oak, you see them, especially maybe not in the metal. You don't see them on a lot of people's wrists.
Yeah.
But you see them online a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So people have become acquired to the look of it, I guess is what I'm saying. I couldn't agree more. It's my favorite watch house. Mm-hmm. AP, hands down, is my favorite watch house. Huh. I love them for being bold.
Yeah.
I love them for trying new things. I love them for their heritage and their history. The argument could be made that we would not be sitting here right now talking about watches, and there would not be us on YouTube and all the other YouTube channels
would not exist
without the Royal Oak.
Yeah.
You could really make a strong argument for that. And for that, I love AP.
Oh, amazing brand, amazing watch, Royal Oak, very iconic. And I think those are things that I stand for
and are drawn to, right?
And I'm drawn to. And so I think naturally over time, whenever I get to ball a little bit, spend some money on a Royal Oak, that's hopefully.
Well, listen, if our channel grows like it, we expect it to, and everybody actually supports us. If our channel grows and our followers continue to support us in the way that I know they will, eventually we will be able to help you acquire some of those
pieces. We go. So you guys hear that? You better subscribe. Get that number up for my dream of a Royal Oak. 670. We'll make a whole video, on it. It'll be
a whole video?
Well, that's for the other channel.
Yeah. Our wives might get mad if we made a whole video, right?
With my new flashy AP. We'll make a whole.
Where's your mind at right now?
I just want to make a whole video. I want to make a cinematic
video.
I want to make a cinematic. I need to breathe. A whole cinematic. I'm gonna make a cinematic video.
Felix is gonna make a whole cinematic video on AP.
That's right. Anyway, it's my second favorite watch that I think this is more obtainable for me, is a Rolex Submariner. And
Submariner.
Me. Didn't say anything right.
So your second favorite.
My second favorite beer. Yeah, so my second favorite watch that I want to get, it's a little bit more obtainable for me, is the Rolex Submariner.
Submariner.
My second watch, which is a little bit more obtainable, is the Rolex Submariner.
There you go. You got it.
Is a Rolex Submariner. That black, is the Rolex Submariner. It's a super beautiful watch.
What's your second watch? AP, Royal Oak, Grail, first watch. Your second watch that's a little more obtainable. What piece would that be?
Is a Rolex. I can't do it. Just cut the camera.
The black sub, to what you were saying, the black sub does have. Oh my. So, listen, I don't think we can fucking finish this video. We appreciate you joining us today for this video. I hope that we were able to clear up a little bit about the Rolex video that we dropped. Look for the follow-up, because I will go to more in depth about my thoughts, the reason for making it, and clear up some misconceptions that I feel like may be out there. I don't normally ask for likes and subscribes, but if you could continue this train and subscribe to the channel, it would mean so much. honestly, I think you can tell from the setup that we have in here, we have spent an awful lot of time and money. This is not free to get this going.
Yeah.
So you following us is a huge endorsement
Big.
of what we're doing, and it will allow us to continue to do this. So we appreciate it. And until next one, we'll see you.